Now, Sports Talk with Broads. Here's Hunter Brody.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome on into Sports Talk with Broads. There's a couple of different things to discuss tonight when it comes to the Flyers. Of course, they just lost 4-1 to the Chicago Blackhawks, and that is not what we want to see. They did respond to the loss against Boston with a good W, 5-2 over Anaheim, and there was a lot of beautiful things that happened on the ice. But, of course, there was an Ivan Provorov story, but I guess we'll kind of work backwards. I don't really know the best way to do this. We'll work backwards, starting with what we just saw, and that was the loss to Chicago. Yeah, you know what? Chicago might have been playing better to this point, but at the same time, you can't lose this type of game, especially when you dig yourself in such a big hole in the beginning of the season. Here's what I'll say, though, to the disappointment that just went down. If the Flyers handle business with the back-to-back against Detroit and against the Winnipeg Jets on Saturday and Sunday, I could flush this. I can remove this because stinkers happen. It happens all the time in sports. We see the Sixers lose a game, and it's like, they probably shouldn't have lost to OKC, but whatever. It's really what happens after. It's really how do you respond to when something slips. It wasn't very pretty. And to be honest with you, it wasn't very pretty, but at the same time, they probably still could have won this one. Morgan Frost had a great chance, but it looked like there were 75 bodies in the crease. The puck doesn't go in. Travis Konechny rips a one-timer short side. It doesn't find the back of the net, but you could take that same shot 10 times, and it probably does find Twine about 9 of them. You know, it got weird, but there were a couple breakdowns. Tony DeAngelo at one point had a rough one. The third period starts, and with the blink of an eye, Chicago creates a little bit more separation, which makes you have to dig that much deeper. And, you know, you just couldn't find those goals that you were looking for. Peter Mrazek in net. It sucks. But like I said, if you respond with a couple of nice wins, well, then I'll pretend like this didn't happen and we'll just continue to plug away. But if this turns into a stretch where you go back to that Boston loss, it's like, okay, nice, you won 5-2 against Anaheim, but you followed that up with 3 straight losses and then you lost 4 or 5. Well, then all of that talk about only being 5 points out of a wild card spot, which I think is legitimately okay to bring that up just a little bit ago. Like, I didn't think that was outrageous, even though I know it's a far stretch. It's still something that, with a ton of hockey left, with basically half the season to go, even though I think Pittsburgh had 2 games at hand at the time, and whatever it is, it's like, you know, we were at the bottom feeders of the league, and then we worked our way back up to Hockey 500. So let's just take it for what it is and take it one game at a time. It's about what they do from this point. I know John Tortorella said to him they were flat, and to him he wasn't really pleased. I get it. Owen Tippett has a turnover, and of course that is very costly. It's in the back of your net. I get it. Those things are not fantastic. I mentioned Tony DeAngelo having a rough spot. So I get it. From a coaching standpoint, you look at that and you go, not good enough. The overall team game, though, through the 60 minutes, it wasn't embarrassing. I didn't think it was brutal by any means. It is what it is. It stings. It's more of a sting. Or it's more of an itch. You scratch it. You smack it. And you kind of see how this team responds to this moment. They responded to the Boston loss pretty damn well. Kevin Hayes gets a hat trick. Rasmus Ristolainen is throwing the body in the neutral zone with a huge collision. I would love to see that more often with that body size. And then on a shorthanded bingo, he goes backhand cheese with the celebration down the line. All right, Rasmus. We asked Tortsy about that on the radio on his weekly hit, and he goes, honestly, when it comes to most improved throughout the year this season, he's looking at one, Rasmus Ristolainen, as being up there in the conversation. Dude, give me some of that more. But unfortunately, That's not the storyline coming out of that Anaheim W. Morgan Frost scored a goal where he put the puck in between his legs and went top shelf. He had an awesome goal against Chicago, too. The poise and the patience, the nice stick work, too, and then goes bar down. Ew. That's 10 goals now on the season for Morgan Frost. I'll tell you what, the confidence level is sky high for him. Torchy's mixing up the lines. He's playing with different people. And his skill, his mitts, his shot, it's on display. We noticed this months ago that the time and space was definitely way more intriguing. What I mean is when he saw areas and when he saw times to be patient, and when he saw ice, he would allow the game. It looked like the game slowed down for him, basically. He could make more plays. He could see the ice better. Everything wasn't rushed. Instead of on his stick, off his stick, forcing plays that weren't there, he was letting the game develop in front of his eyes. That was step one. Now we're on step two, which is maximizing and utilizing your skill on top of that. Seeing space, taking space, not being afraid to rip it, going in between his legs. Like, what are we talking about here, Morgan Frost? Crazy. But it's a shame because, yes, all of that kind of went under the radar. Kevin Hayes scored a damn hat trick. TK with a couple of assists. Wade Allison getting on the score sheet. Scott Lawton with a nice dish to Kevin Hayes for a second. But all of that became kind of the afterthought. And here's what I'm going to say about the Ivan Provorov thing. And I tweeted it out in the moment. And would I do things differently? Maybe. I didn't like what he did. That's my opinion. Now, to be fair, I don't know if my opinion necessarily matters. And here's what I mean. It seemed like the most vocal are ones that aren't even a part of this thing. And I think the way that we handled it on the radio was just the perfect and best way to do it. We opened up the phone lines and said, anyone from the community that saw what Ivan Provorov decided to do, we open up the phone lines and we want to hear from you. How do you feel? People a part of the community that felt the disrespect. It's a lot of straight males, straight females that seem to be the most outraged on social media about everything, which you're allowed to have your opinion. I'm not saying you're not. But I think most importantly, it's about the people involved. So it's less about us, less about the people on the outside looking in. It's more about the people involved. And I just think it got to a point where Ivan Provorov said, I'm going to make this moment about me. But anyway, sitting down and listening to we had a call, the first caller called in talking about how he is a father of a transgender man who loves the Flyers and loves the games. And, obviously you had to hear the stories and listen to some of the people and their perspectives on it. But that's the most important. And I think what some are trying to do is stress politics, stress everything else when this type of situation occurred. I think Ivan Provorov wanted to make the moment about Ivan Provorov and not about the message, which is hockey is for everybody. You put the jersey on, you go warm up for 10 minutes, and you support your teammates like Scott Lawton and JVR, who was the ones to make this happen. They are extremely passionate about it. They want to make sure that hockey is for everyone. And Ivan Provorov basically spit in his teammates' faces. I think it was completely wrong. I've been in a lot of locker rooms, and Ivan Provorov has been here for a long time, and JVR has been here for some years, and Scott Lawton has been here for some years. And you know what? I think outside of clearly disrespecting the people in the community, but your own teammates, your own brotherhood, you know how much it means to both of them. There's been plenty of stories and plenty of articles on what they're trying to do and how they want this game to change. And he said, screw you all. Of course, he's entitled to this. It's not against the law what he did. I don't like it, though. But I don't think my opinion, even though this is a podcast where I normally stress my opinion and I've let you know that I don't like it, I don't think that's the main thing here. And I think he absolutely crossed the line. But he made it bigger about Ivan Provorov when that's not really what this was all about. And what also pisses me off is, if you're going to do this, right? The Flyers said that he would be available after the game. He made a statement and said, I'm not answering any more questions. That's not really making yourself available. If you are going to do this, if you are going to make this type of decision and sit out of the warm-ups, the least you can do is stand up and stand by it and have every single media member ask what they want. Answer the questions. There's going to be a lot of them, and they're going to be angled certain ways. But if you're going to stand up for this, answer the questions. And the Flyers PR team at one point shut it down after a minute and a half, 2 minutes. That's Bush League in my eyes. If you're going to do it, I don't like it, fine. But you got to stand your ground and say, all right, here, I'm accepting this. I know what this was going to do. I know what this was going to be like, and I knew what the outreach was going to be. And I knew how the frustration was going to hit a lot of people. I'm going to tell you why I feel the way that I do, and I'll answer all questions about it. Instead, but he's a Ben Simmons. He's a Ben Simmons. He never thinks he's the problem. Oh, yeah? You number one defenseman in an NHL franchise? I don't think so. You haven't got better in the sport in one area. Not one area of the game has Ivan Provorov actually gotten better. And he's been here since, 2016? He thinks he's the greatest player in the world. That's what I've been told. This guy smells himself like no other. So it kind of makes sense. But anyway, that's kind of where I'm at with it. And we'll just move on from there. Because it is what it is at this point. And the Flyers have seemed to move on. But I heard Scott Lawton talk after the game. He's not happy with it. As he shouldn't be happy with it. But I asked the coach, what does this do for the locker room? And his response was, well, we had a meeting as a team that lasted about 20 minutes, and there were a lot of people making their comment. 20-minute meeting afterward. You know what that tells me? Yeah. It tells me that there was probably a lot of controversy involved. And you could say all you want that, and you heard Scott Lawton after the game. You heard it. He was not okay with it. I'll leave it at that. That's one of the phrases he kept saying. I'll leave it at that. I'll leave it at that. Well, you keep saying I'll leave it at that. And he took the high road as much as he possibly could. But you keep saying I'll leave it at that. You despise one of your teammates. It goes a long way. And I know Ivan Provorov wants to get out of here. And I know the organization isn't a big fan of Ivan Provorov at this point. They would move on from him, I guess, is really what I'm trying to say. This doesn't help. Who's going to want to trade for the guy that creates huge controversy? And if there's guys in the locker room in a different organization that have family members that are a part of it, I'm just saying, it's not going to be as easy as a move. So, we'll go to some Anytime Hotline stuff here at this point. Actually, I had a tweet today. I said, gross start to the third. Let's go. Figure it out. This was against Chicago, of course. And the response is, this loss ends any playoff talk. I'm not there yet, Joe. I'm not there yet. I told you. Let's see what happens this weekend. You beat Detroit. You beat Winnipeg. And you play ballsy hockey, hard-nosed, tough hockey. You keep this thing rolling where you look good. You're entering the zone with some pizzazz. Well, then I'm here for it. I'm not giving up just because of one stinker. It was a stinker. There's going to be plenty of stinkers, plenty of great wins. For every bad loss in an NHL season, in pro sports in general, there's normally a good win where you didn't expect them to win, but they did. It was against a tough opponent. Maybe they didn't deserve to win, but you squeak away with one. So I know that's coming at some point. And if that happens during a stretch where you win the games you're supposed to, I'm just saying, if there's a few games that you win because you're the better team, you had more scoring chances, your goalie played well, you kept guys to the outside so their shots weren't too much of a threat, and you win, let's say, 3 games in a row that you were the better team in, and then that 4th game comes around a little bit sloppy, not your night, but somehow you win. No, you got that 4-game win streak, and it comes at a beauty time. I think it's coming. I don't know what game it's going to be when you look at the upcoming schedule, but I think the Flyers are going to be on the other end, where it's a win they probably shouldn't have won. I believe it or not, while the schedule gets tougher, I think they're doing a lot of good things that will still result in some level of success. Not wild success, but some level of success. All right, Cole texts in. Is Morgan Frost a changed man? He now has 10 goals. Can you see him being the first-round pick? He's only 23. Look what happened in Buffalo. Yes, of course, Thompson out in Buffalo scored 9 billion goals, and it took him a little bit of time to find out who he was going to be in the NHL. You're right, Morgan Frost is only 23. Not everybody has the same path, right? Some guys come into the league and they tear up the league with ease. Some guys get sent down to the minors, get brought up, get sent down to the minors, get brought up. Cole Caulfield, it was a big difference. Marty St. Louis, Montreal, changing some things. Here's Cole Caulfield, and he looks to be a different player. There's no doubt about it, Cole, that there's a lot of difference with players and whatever their journey is to become a great player. The skill, the individual skill that Morgan Frost has shown us lately is eye-opening. I can't run from that at all. He's scoring goals like he's a player on Anaheim. No, we see these kids on Anaheim nonstop. The Michigan, crazy stuff all day long. And Morgan Frost is doing it. That shot today, even creating the angle to rip the puck bar down today. That nifty move as he enters the blue line to change the angle. That's important. That's stellar. That's magnificent. It's outrageous. I don't know. I don't know what Morgan Frost is going to be, but the ceiling continues to get higher after each game. I never thought we'd be here with Morgan Frost. I probably wrote him off a little bit too early, but I think Buffalo is a fantastic example on how we should give him some more time. There's going to be mistakes made. Trust me. Owen Tippett, we saw that today. But I've also seen a billion examples of Owen Tippett's speed creating a penalty. Now you're on the man advantage. Now you're getting a power play opportunity because of that work ethic and the way his legs just keep on churning. It's crazy. So these young kids, Noah Cates, Owen Tippett, Morgan Frost, you got to realize that we have to ride the wave. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know, because you ask, is he the first round pick? I see some things, but can he be consistent and put it all together? He's at 10 goals right now, right? So if he finishes the year at, I don't know, let's say 17 goals, does that mean Morgan Frost, the expectations for next year are rightfully 20 goals for the season? And if Morgan Frost becomes a 20-goal scorer a season, that's an important role. I guess on a real team, do I see him as a top 6 forward? Not right now. He has to prove to me a lot more to be a permanent top 6 forward guy. But if he could be a third liner, and I guess every time we do this, I say that about a lot of guys. Owen Tippett. If he's your third liner, I like that. Scott Lawton, if he's your third liner, I like that. Morgan Frost, if he's your third liner, I like that. A lot of guys on this team that I've been enjoying, I think on a properly built, real team that can compete in the postseason, you have a lot of those third liner types. The question becomes, can Morgan Frost be a top 6 guy and actually grow and blossom into that? I'm far away from that. Far away. We'll see how he continues to grow. Charlie, text him. The Flyers played fine tonight. Miscues and bad mishaps occasionally. But I didn't see a Blackhawks team come here and smoke them. All I'm saying is the result could have been flipped over to the other side. And I would not have been shocked. I go back to Travis Konechny. I go back to Morgan Frost. 2 of those goals, not that both would have automatically went in and changed the game, but I think those 2 moments, they were there. And I don't know if they necessarily did anything wrong. Travis Konechny taking that shot, I don't think that's anything wrong. Just a game of inches at times. I don't think they played bad. I thought Torts was a little hard in that view. But that's Torts, no? Whenever you think Torts will praise the team, he plays that mental game and probably goes the opposite way. Whenever they play bad and guys get on them, he seems to have their back. So whatever they're doing, I always think it's the opposite. But that's because he's always going with the mental side of the game. And that's the buttons he likes to push. But anyway. All right. That's my Flyers hockey update. Take it for what it is. Thank you guys all so much. Catch you on the next one.